This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of February 8th, 2021. And as I'm recording this, it's Monday, February 8th, meaning that the Super Bowl for me is fewer than 24 hours in my past. It may be longer for you, depending on when you listen to this podcast. You know, about 2 weeks ago, I recorded a podcast called The Super Bowl Commercials. And, well, I made some forecasts and I worked on the news that I had. And I thought it would be interesting to revisit that and discuss, what actually happened and what my feelings were about the Super Bowl commercials. I was once, a long time ago, a big fan of the Super Bowl commercials. Even when I didn't care about the teams, I would watch the commercials. Well, this time around, I did the same. And I watched a little bit more of the game than I had in previous years, not as much as I had recently. And this is what I had to say about that. You may recall that there were a few high-value customers who made a point of saying they wouldn't advertise in the Super Bowl. And I want to point out Anheuser-Busch, which is the parent company of Budweiser. They said Budweiser wouldn't have any ads in the Super Bowl, and I guess it's true they didn't have any ads for Budweiser. They had ads for Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, and it really... if there was any PR value to the fact that Budweiser wasn't advertising, I'd say that was totally blunted by the fact that you couldn't tell that Budweiser wasn't advertising because Bud Light sure was. Yeah, they were scaled back, but, whatever PR value they had was completely gone there. I didn't see a lot of movie ads. I think I saw one. I didn't see a lot of beverage ads. There were, one or two. Maybe Mountain Dew was the one that I remember. And all in all, that ended up being true. And in the end, what I did see were two trends that are not necessarily super great for anybody. The first one was the 5-second ad. I don't recall ever seeing 5-second ads at the Super Bowl before. Maybe they were there. I don't know. Maybe they were just a little bit smarter, or maybe those are the ones that went to local channels that I didn't really notice. But there were a couple of national 5-second ads, and the one that gained the most kind of notoriety was Reddit, who posted a lot of text up there in a way that people had to pause and go back and read it. A clever idea for Reddit, because that's the entire idea, is you read stuff on Reddit. That's even the name of it. But really, a 5-second ad is usually not enough time to make an impression. Reddit did it very well in a kind of a way that other companies have done it before. Even 20 years ago, there were tech companies that, posted something really kind of weird and said, well, we just blew $1 million or whatever. The other trend that I saw was a lot of unsold inventory. I would be willing to bet that about a third of the ads went unsold at the Super Bowl, based on the number of promos they had for The Equalizer, for Paramount Plus, and for other CBS-owned properties. You would expect to see a few ads for The Equalizer, the show that they're pushing very hard and that premiered after the Super Bowl. But there were way too many of them, and it really only makes sense if you think that there are perhaps some unsold bits of inventory out there that you just aren't going to be able to get rid of. So you promote it. You promote the stuff that you have. A bit of a shame there. And I'm not going to say that CBS lost money, but clearly this was not the bonanza that they were hoping for. I'll get back to that in a minute because I do have another idea about that. But if I think about the ad that won the night or lost the night or whatever, the most memorable ad of the entire night was the owner of Oatly playing something really dumb on his keyboard for 30 seconds. It made me think, and it probably cost about $1,000 to make, which just goes to show that, a clever concept or at least something memorable is much more important than huge production value. Now, getting back to that unsold inventory and the fact that they were pushing The Equalizer so hard, I'm not the person who does the scheduling for this sort of stuff, and I certainly don't understand a lot of why it's done. But the Super Bowl aired starting at 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast, meaning that it was well after 10 o'clock by the time The Equalizer aired. And I have to wonder if there was any real benefit to that as far as watching live. Yeah, maybe people DVR'd it, but then DVRs can be notoriously unreliable when it comes to live sporting events that run long. DirecTV DVRs give the ability to pad live events and even prompt you if you are recording a live event, but most DVRs don't. So they promoted the Equalizer, and maybe it's available on CBS All Access. I don't know. Because I'm not currently subscribed to CBS All Access. I only subscribe to them when there's a Star Trek show on. And there isn't right now. So, look, the thing is that I think that was wasted money. And I think that all the ads for Paramount Plus were wasted money. Because though they failed to make a compelling case for why you would want to spend even another $5 for another streaming service. CBS All Access has always been pretty low when it comes to the amount of content that's available for the amount of money that you spend. Discovery Plus, which I don't also have a whole lot of affection for, at least came out with roughly 25 kajillion hours of content and a lot of original stuff when they launched. CBS All Access has not done either of those things. All in all, I would say that the Super Bowl, from an advertising point of view, from a promotion point of view, was probably a big zero. If you remember anything about it other than the game, which was I guess a predictable blowout, not terribly surprising at this point to see that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are going to win it all. Sorry, spoiler alert. The other thing that maybe you remember is how full the stands felt. It turns out that most of what we thought were people in the stands were just cardboard cutouts. But even so, even though that the stands were at roughly 30% capacity, and of that 30%, about a third of that were first responders who got free tickets because they had been vaccinated. It still seemed like an uncomfortable number of people at the Super Bowl for a time when we are all being told to stay far away from each other. Seeing all that stuff in the stands kind of made that more obvious as opposed to less obvious, and I wonder if using the stand-ups was really the right idea. Well, I guess that's just my opinion. Next year's Super Bowl will hopefully be back to normal, and we will all look forward to that. But in the meantime, that's about it for this podcast. Shop at solidsignal.com to support this podcast because it does keep the lights on and keeps my salary going. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you all next week.